On this week's episode, we're talking the future of Twitch, The Last Jedi's bright future, a Dark Tower reboot, and is this the biggest week of the year for video games? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. The #1 show, eight months running on the Podcast Radio Network, and we truly appreciate it. And it's all because of you out there. Thank you so much for stopping back in with us. And who is here to talk pop culture? None other than the man, the myth, the legend. He is, I'm going to say, he's the Starship Commander of Humanica Media. It's Josh Peterson. What's up, my friend?
Yeah, Star Trek. Nothing, man. What's going on?
Trying to keep thinking of these things, man. You're just the big man on campus when it comes to Humanica Media, so I just want to make sure that everything is well known when it comes to you and as far as what's going on with Humanica Media. But we'll talk about that later. All right, but it's going to be a great show we have here today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, indeed. Got The Last Jedi. We've also got, like I said, got The Last Jedi on deck. Also as well, talking the Dark Tower. And, this looks, by all intents and purposes, the biggest week of the year for video games. So we're definitely looking forward to that, indeed. We're going to talk all about it. Plus, Tyler Baker is stopping by to recap Week 7 in the NFL for fantasy football owners. And also a great song from Hyperschmidt. But Josh, TwitchCon, which is one of the, in the streaming world, one of the more important days of the year is actually going on as we're on the air and talking about this right now. It's been a great weekend for, I know, our good friend Salvador Villa and Mario Party Wars. He's down there in the Long Beach area, just having a great time as far as that's concerned. But I want to ask you your thoughts on Twitch itself, because the numbers for Twitch, they're still very strong, but we haven't talked much about Twitch lately as being that major entity in the streaming world and in the streaming universe, actually. And I'll tell you what, the numbers are still very strong for Twitch. There's still their audience is estimated right around 185 million watching at some point in time during the year Twitch. But with all these other entities that are out there, what's going on as far as Twitch as a major streaming power within, with what people are watching and viewing in today's audience?
It's content made by the people for the people, and that's kind of that's like, to me personally, that's a big appeal. We've talked about this before. We have YouTube, who's out there. Yes, they have live streaming capabilities. Yes, you can stream games and do all the stuff you do on Twitch, but YouTube regulates so heavily what you're doing, as far as profiting off of it goes. And with Twitch, you have to have a certain amount of viewers before you start making money, but there's more freedom to do what you want, less control over content, and it's kind of, if you have an idea, you can just throw it out there onto Twitch and anybody can do it. And I think that's what, even when it comes to, content like shows and stuff, you can go on Twitch, someone has a show, you can rely on it being there week after week or day after day instead of having to wait for a long break, or if someone just didn't feel like uploading content. When you're on Twitch as a content creator, you're kind of making a commitment saying, hey, we're going to be doing this consistently, whereas YouTube is more finicky and sporadic. And I honestly feel like Twitch is going to be around for a long time, and they're kind of the wave of the future. And it's a great idea. It's a very good business model. YouTube is slowly gonna, I have a feeling we're gonna see less YouTubers out there and more people heading towards the Twitch space when it comes to live streaming.
Well, I will tell you this. I know something that, as far as myself is concerned, we've had our glory days when with Game Source as far as doing Twitch and being a Twitch channel and trying to stream on there, but it also show podcasts, things of that nature. But one thing I've always had an issue with as far as content being shown 24 hours a day, because I have over 600 videos that are part of the Game Source audience. And, between our pop culture stuff, we're now doing about around 100 as well, as far as different videos that people can watch and enjoy at any point in time. What I'd like to see, and I think Twitch is evolving into it, is that a streaming list as far as a continuous feed. That's what I'm looking as far as either Twitch or YouTube allowing you to do is, hey, I've got all these videos. Can I just go ahead and put them on a loop, and there you go, and you watch great content, and then be able to add it on to it at any given point in time, so there is no dead time on my channel. That's what I'm hoping to come out of it. That's what I wanted when I was actively trying to push the Twitch channel for Game Source. And I'm hoping that I've heard there's steps, and actually seen steps in that right direction, correct?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a yeah, I mean, it is going in that direction, so we'll see what happens.
Well, like I said, I mean, because we've got so many videos as far as within the Game Source Pop Culture Cosmos universe, if we were able to go ahead and try and mesh that and just be able to have that just keep on running and putting on a loop until so someone can watch it at any given point in time, and stuff from the past, stuff that's current, whatnot, and then load in, like for instance us when we tape this episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos and put that on there. It just, I wanted to evolve into something a little bit more, and I think it's getting in that direction as far as becoming a clean, all-around channel for you to have an actual channel instead of just being, okay, I'm going to stream my game and then it's off, or I'm going to stream my game and just being, okay, you can choose whatnot. I'm hoping to get like you go to a TV station, you go to to a cable channel, there's always something on.
Right, but if you think about it like this, so like that, Twitch would have to have some major upgrading, major processing power, a very powerful server to be able to support everybody streaming 24/7. And I love the idea, but I feel like they'd have to start charging us money to do something like that. I hope they wouldn't, and I hope it goes that way. But you just got to think of the logistics of it, because they're basically giving us our own free network essentially.
Well, they're only giving it to you free at a certain point. When you want to evolve into something larger, you have to go ahead and start dealing with the advertisements or dealing with as far as with people subscribing and following and whatnot. Then it gets into pricier and pricier content if you want to become a bigger player in the game. And I think that's what a lot of people have avoided or shied away from, because if you truly want to, same thing with YouTube, if you truly want to make a commitment to being a bigger player within that streaming market, you have to start investing more than just time into it. You have to start investing a little bit of money as well.
Yeah, but I mean, just streaming anything, becoming a podcaster or a video streamer or whatever it's already an investment. You're already paying the money, you're paying the hosting fees and all that stuff. So yeah, it just depends on how far you want to go. And most people expect to kind of make money right away, but it takes a long time to really turn a profit on anything in this business.
Yes, you're exactly right in that. That's something I've come to learn over the course of 7+ years in doing this type of stuff. So it does take a lot of effort, does take a lot of time and commitment to do this. And to all those people out there who stream so much, and you hear the stories that I stream, people streaming 6 days a week. They stream well over 70, 80, 100 hours in a given week. And to me, that's really rough on a lot of people that just commit to this life of streaming. Sure, they get the lifestyle and the bonus and the benefits of it, but it's just so I think there's another step that YouTube and Twitch and well, Mixer and a lot of other streaming entities out there can commit to better and can do better, even more for their customers, their consumers, and their streamers. I think they're unwilling to do it as of yet because, like you said, it's a cost and logistics issue. But I think it's something in the future that they should commit to at some point in time to make it even more palatable and garner an even larger audience, because Twitch is starting to make maneuvers outside of the gaming world that they've done. They're part of a lot of other entities now. They've shown a lot of stuff from pro wrestling to board gaming to a whole bunch of other pop culture type things on Twitch to make it even more palatable for people to come and watch Twitch. And well, YouTube has been pretty much there for everything, as long as the content is allowed by them. So that's something that they're very well in doing. Someone like Mixer, who just comes into the game like they have now, it's a very tough hoe for them to go into as far as trying to come in, make a difference between them and also matching up between Twitch and also what YouTube offers. I know that their pitch during E3 to us when we interviewed them, as far as that's concerned, was having that latency and having a more instant now effect. Do you think that's really something that viewers really notice or care about when it comes to watching these Twitch streams, these YouTube streams, and what have you?
It depends on the demographic, and it depends on whether or not they too are streamers. Like kids, a lot of video game views come from kids, like in elementary school, junior high, high school, and they don't really notice it. They just want to watch a video. They want to see something cool. Sorry, my dog's barking here.
See, and it's moments like this that would be awesome to put on a streaming, channel. The live feed. And when we say it's the live feed, it's the live feed, because anything can happen on the live feed. Those dogs must be truly barking. Must be a cat around. Is there a mailman around? He's that mad at the AC. What happens when they turn on the heater?
I don't know. He freaks out anytime the air conditioner gets turned on. But I honestly don't even remember what I was saying now. What point was I making?
Oh, well, we were talking about as far as Mixer competing at a level with YouTube and also as well with Twitch, and their main selling point when we interviewed them at E3 2017 was basically that their latency was supposed to be so much better than their competitors. I was asking you if it is something that people really care about, a lot of people are interested, or is it just something that is a selling point that not many people that are going to be out there really care about, because when it comes down to it, all they want is the content?
Yeah, latency, it's if you're a tech person or you're a streamer, you notice it. Obviously, we noticed it with the PlayStation conference at E3 this year, which is pretty bad. But I mean, if you're just out there looking for content, you're fine. I mean, you're not like, if you're a kid and you're looking to watch some video game movies or gameplay or something, you're okay waiting the extra second or two to watch it. I don't think a lot of people really notice it. And the sad thing is, I was hoping Mixer was going to do really well, but I haven't heard much about them since E3. So maybe this year we'll hear more from them, but it's like, I'm on the internet a lot, and if I haven't heard much about Mixer or their advertising or anything like that. I'm sure a lot of other people haven't either. So, we'll wait and see what's going on with that. But right now, Twitch is the big name in the streaming world.
It is one of the biggest. I'll say. Well, yes, YouTube streaming has not become as popular as Twitch, but YouTube dwarfs Twitch when it comes to the overall viewing because, as far as everyone else out, there's so much content out there, literally that dwarfs anything that is even comparative. And Twitch, even at number 2, is still less than half of what YouTube does overall in viewing, but they're both huge entities indeed, and I don't want to take anything away from that. Hope everyone had a great time at TwitchCon. Just basically, the gathering of Twitch and celebration of Twitch users indeed. But the future does look bright for Twitch, as long as they try to keep evolving. I know there's some things that I'd like to see, but let's hope that Twitch in the future will definitely become that entity and that channel and that network, that everybody hopes it will evolve into in the future indeed. What are your thoughts on Twitch? Do you think you want to see more from Twitch? Do you like where it's at? Or what changes would you make to Twitch to make it even better and to make it even as strong or even stronger than YouTube? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanican Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. And I'll tell you what, speaking of streaming, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I just saw an ad for the Paramount Network, which is, I guess, another streaming entity. But that made me think for a second there. Isn't Star Trek a Paramount property?
Yes.
So why would Star Trek Discovery be on the CBS All Access network, which is basically a startup themselves, and not be on the Paramount network, which is basically a startup themselves?
Does Paramount? So you said Paramount has a streaming service?
Paramount Network. I'm assuming so because I just saw for Waco. There's a movie that's being made that's depicting what happened, the tragic events happening in Waco, and it said Paramount Network all over it. So I'm assuming it's a Paramount streaming network that's either here or coming very soon, because the movie itself is debuting on the Paramount Network on January 24th.
Oh, maybe they already had a pre-existing contract with CBS. That would be my guess. But hey,
but if you're going to run a network, you know what?
Gotta get that content out there as fast as possible.
I guess so, but that makes no sense. Here, watch all the other Star Trek stuff on the Paramount Network, but the brand new show that you might want to watch, the most, is on CBS. So that makes absolutely no sense to me. But hey, like you said, if CBS was writing up those checks, maybe Paramount needed to cash them. So we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a great episode indeed, and I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of things lined up. We're talking The Last Jedi, video games galore this week, and also as well, we're talking The Dark Tower later on in the program, plus Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's stopping by to recap Week 7 in the NFL. But first, it's our man Chad and Hyper Schmidt, and this is Fighting Eyes, and this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. And I'll tell you what, if you get a chance, if for some reason you cannot catch our show on the Podcast Radio Network, either the Monday show, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, or the Friday show, which is the PCC Multiverse, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, on the Podcast Radio Network, you can always download and stream, because streaming seems to be the thing of the day today, what we're talking about. You can always stream our episodes that are always available right now. In fact, on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, the Ace Podcast Network, Overcast, Player.fm, Google Play, Stitcher, Podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, the Tangibound Network, the Gonna Geek Network, Cast Crunch, and popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And, you know, if you download or stream our podcast off of one of those channels, we always throw in some bonus stuff just for listening. And speaking of just listening, you got to listen to all the great stuff that's going on with Humanica Media. So, Josh, tell everyone out there what's going on in the wonderful universe known as Humanica Media.
Like I mentioned on the earlier show this week, there's kind of a dry week in content. You know, we'll have a new Inside Sports, which you can check out now. There'll be one up on Tuesday. You can check out Brian's interview with Andy Schatz from Pocket Watch Games, and that's up. And there will be a mini BS up on Monday night, and we're going to be recording a new Super BS on Wednesday. But other than that, I'm looking to book some stuff right now, so I'll let you guys know when I know.
Well, also as well, I want to talk about your two great things that have just appeared, your website and your Patreon, which basically is, you know, your, you know, great options for people to get more great content from Humanica Media.
Right, you can check out our website now. It's got all the content in one place, so you don't have to keep searching things on YouTube because all the links are there. And yeah, we do have a Patreon. You can check out some exclusive content on there. I feel bad, like I don't like to ask people for money, but you know, we try to keep some stuff up there on the off chance that you do want to donate to our cause. You know, like I always tell people, I'm not trying to become internet rich or famous. I just you know, want to keep making production bigger and better. So
speak for yourself, man. I want to be internet rich and famous.
Hey, we don't always get what we want. But yeah, if there's some stuff up there you want to check it out, I would greatly appreciate it. Don't feel pressured. If you have no bucks to give, we still have some content for you. You can still check out stuff at the usual places. But yeah, feel free to browse.
And I'll just be here with my lack of internet fame and my lack of internet fortune. But that's okay. I still love our listeners. Meanwhile, Josh is looking at me like, man, this dude's like checked out. But anyways, it's going to be a great time indeed come December when The Last Jedi hits theaters. And why are we talking about it so early? Because it's still late October. There's still a lot of ways to go before, you know, the actual movie comes out. And the trailer, we talked about that already and our thoughts on it. But projections are now actually coming in as far as, because early ticket sales, including my own, have already come in. There's people buying them already as far as advanced screenings are concerned. I noticed when I was there that Friday and Saturday in my area, in fact, Thursday night premiere as well, were pretty much all booked up already as far as the theaters that I was attending here. Josh, the movie is now projected to do well over $200 million in the first weekend alone domestically. And by some accounts, that it looks like it may do, or it may have the biggest box office opening of all time. Do you think it will have that large of an opening? And why is it going to be so successful as compared to, let's say, The Force Awakens, which did awesome numbers in its own right, but The Last Jedi looks to even do even more?
Yes, I do think it will do fantastic opening numbers, and that's easy. It's because after A New Hope, box office numbers went up for Empire Strikes Back, and that's, you know, it's the same principle. So we saw that they can create new Star Wars movies and make them good, and now we want to know what happens next. So you've already had all that time to build momentum, and you've had time to hype up the franchise, and now you're getting more people into it. And it's at a point too where it's like in this 2 years you're actually starting to get new fans. As You have the parents whose kids are finally reaching the age where they're old enough to appreciate it, and they're showing them the movies. So it's Star Wars is like an avalanche, like a good avalanche. It's just it builds momentum and it keeps going and going and going.
Well, I said some entities out there are actually looking at even advancing above the 247 million. The Force Awakens made in its opening weekend, but there's others that are saying, well, it may not do quite as well. So I'm going to ask you, you really think that The Last Jedi will do well above, or at least a minimal amount above, the actual opening of The Force Awakens? Because I think it will. I think people are really now excited who weren't getting onto the train, the hype train with The Force Awakens. They're now, they've seen The Force Awakens at some point in time. They're now becoming excited because it seems like it's reaching not only the older generations, but a new generation and the millennials as well. So you think it's actually going to be doing even better? I think it will. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. And plus, you have the sad fact that this is Carrie Fisher's last Star Wars film. So, it's for the same reason that people went to go see the Fast 7 is because it's Paul Walker's last one. So now you have people going to pay homage to Carrie Fisher also. So I think that's a big playing factor also.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And I think also that the Force Awakens didn't totally resonate with China, with the China market when it premiered there. Even though that Disney really tried hard, and Lucasfilm tried hard to push the movie and the actual saga in and of itself with the Chinese audience. For some reason, it just didn't connect the first time around with The Force Awakens. If it's going to connect at all, I think The Last Jedi is going to be that movie that will connect with that audience. And if it does, well, we've seen from one to another with the Kingsman this weekend internationally and within the Chinese box office, it's gone almost 75% more than the original Kingsman when it debuted in the Chinese market. So if anything holds true with sequels and whatnot, The Last Jedi could be seeing a huge boon in the Chinese market when it debuts later this year. So I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful for great things from The Last Jedi. And if the movie is actually any good at all, and any good at all as far as being a movie that's comparable to some of the best that are out there, I think it will have a long-lasting $2 to $2.5 billion run worldwide box office. So I definitely see some strong signs indeed for The Last Jedi. I think 200 million is easy for that movie to do in its first weekend domestically, and I think 250 should not be out of the realm and should not be out of question at this point in time. What are your thoughts on The Last Jedi? Are you excited to hear? Are you excited to see the movie? Do you already have your tickets ready? And do you think it will exceed The Force Awakens when it comes to actual, not only first weekend box office, but also overall as well? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanican Media, Pop Culture Cosmos, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter. And if you do send us a line, a DM. Let us know if you want it read on the air. Hold on. Thanks for your patience.
So did you purchase the volcano insurance that they're selling?
Yes, yes. And I also won the Publisher Clearinghouse sweepstakes, but we won't go into that. Edmund Mann's long since dead. But share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanity Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. And we're back with the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I'm here along with my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind Humanity Media. It's Josh Peterson. And Josh, I will tell you, this, well, actually not this could be, but this is the biggest week of the year for video game releases because 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 big AAA games are coming out this weekend to do battle. I mean, you and I both thought at some point in time somebody was going to back out and someone was going to be delaying maybe a week or come maybe a week earlier to retail shelves and all that. But sure enough, 3 big games, Super Mario Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Wolfenstein 2 are all coming out this week. I want to ask you first. I know you're an Assassin's Creed guy, and I know you would favor that most likely because I know it's probably the one you want to play the most. But I ask you, of the 3, which do you think is going to make the biggest mark initially when it comes to audience approval, sales, and also maybe game of the year as far as that type of, which do you think would be the best quality game to come out of the 3?
Super Mario Odyssey for sure. I mean, it's going to be the most well received. As for Assassin's Creed, like I'm sure it's going to it'll probably sell a little bit more than Odyssey because you have to consider that a lot of people still don't have Nintendo Switches, and now that they're finally starting to be readily available, like Target and Toys R Us and whatnot. People are probably not going to be getting them until Christmas because we're so close to the holiday season. So I think that Mario will be the most well-received, Assassin's Creed is going to sell the most, and Wolfenstein will be one of those slow burners that people pick up afterwards and then realize how great of a game it is.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. Do not sleep on Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. I think it will I think it will continue that great story that Wolfenstein had. And I played through it, and I know you played through it too, correct?
Yeah, I bought it when it was on sale on the Xbox, so it was definitely a good game.
Definitely, indeed. I love that narrative. What do you know? A single-player narrative that actually sold very well. What are the odds? Don't tell EA. My goodness, am I still harboring some ill feelings over that decision with Visceral? Yes, I am. But
I think the world is, Gerald. I think video gamers all over the world are because they're essentially trying to herald the end of the single-player gaming. So, yeah.
And also, Amy Hennig, her talent, the writer for the first 2 Uncharted, all of her work going down in the toilet like that's just not cool. She could have gone somewhere else and made a game that's come out by now that would have rocked the world and have done very well or something like that. And to have her efforts go to waste at this point in time for them to revamp it, to throw in some loot boxes or microtransaction really irks my hide, so to speak. But we won't go there. I know I'll let Nathan Drake behind me do that. But as far as big video game releases, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus is something definitely people need to look out for. And of course, right, like you said, Super Mario Odyssey is definitely a game to watch. And I know a lot of I think it'll probably have almost the same attach rate as Zelda did. And there's also a bundle coming out for it as well, a little bit higher price than I thought, but oh well, got to deal with it. But Assassin's Creed Origins is something that people need to be made aware of, because Assassin's Creed, the last couple, didn't leave the best taste in everyone's mouths, correct?
Yeah, it was they're kind of reaching the end of their their goodwill. I thought that it was good. I mean, it was Syndicate, right? That was the last one. I liked it.
And also Unity as well.
Unity was just one mess up after another, but I really enjoyed Syndicate. They need the story to go somewhere. That was their biggest problem. So I'm hoping with Origins they'll be able to actually point us in a direction so that we maybe later on can actually finish what's going on.
Well, I want to ask this. Why go back? Because it's after so many iterations and you're trying to get that back storyline as far as everything that's going on. What do you think Assassin's Creed Origins needs to do? Because going back this late to tell the story of the origin of Assassin's Creed kind of doesn't make sense when you put it down on paper, correct?
Yeah, I mean they need Assassin's Creed has this habit of, when they try to introduce new gameplay mechanics, they have this habit of complicating things. So people don't really like that. The eagle looks cool, or the hawk looks cool, like that type of thing looks all right. And like I'm curious to see how the leveling up equipment and skills are going to go. Because Assassin's Creed is so story driven, it's so story based that they really just need a direction. They had Black Flag was an excellent game. It was super good, and it looked like it was going somewhere. And they had, the past mechanics were fun, the future mechanics were fun, and it had a starting point and a stopping point. So it could have stood on its own without even needing to be associated with the rest of it. But they just need a direction. Like that's all Assassin's Creed fans really want, is a direction, because they keep having more games, and they add on, because this is Origins. This isn't even like Assassin's Creed 5 or 6 or whatever number they're on. It's just another side story, but the story just needs to go somewhere. It needs to go somewhere, and we need to know that it has a point, and we're not just going to be running in circles for the next 10 years playing this game after game, or else they're going to end up running into the same problem that they did at the end of Syndicate.
I agree, because at this point in time, a lot of people who, if you're not a devoted Assassin's Creed follower and you haven't played every single game, it makes absolutely those subplots absolutely make no sense, and it just really becomes kind of irritating side thing that you're trying to play, and you're not familiar with the backstory or whatnot, or you've missed a chapter, you missed a game or whatnot, and you try to come back into it, and just it takes you out of it. It takes you really just out of the immersion that you're trying to stay with as far as the game is concerned. And I don't know, it just seems kind of weird that Assassin's Creed Origins comes out and it's what, the 10th or 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th game in the series.
I don't know, actually, because I know there's a bunch of handhelds, so I don't know like what the continuity order is, but yeah, at least 10.
A side scroller, as far as I'm sorry, platformer, excuse me. There's been, like you said, the handheld versions, and it's kind of irritating that they would go to something called the Origins at this point in time. But let's hope it's a great game, and also as well, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. But you're right. I think the one that's going to get the highest profile is Super Mario Odyssey, and who can blame it? Because the Switch actually is the best-selling system right now on the marketplace. There's still a lot of places that you can get Switches at. It's not as hot of a seller as the Wii in its heyday as of yet, but it may starting this holiday. You never know. But it's still selling very strong. It's almost sold 5 million units worldwide, and it probably has by now. So there's definitely a market for it, and definitely I think you're right. Nintendo puts that seal of quality when it comes to Zelda and Mario that it doesn't always put in other entities, but it really does try to make sure it dots the I's and crosses the T's when it comes to games with the Mario or Zelda label on it. And I think Mario is going to come out to very, very strong reviews and also very, very strong sales. And people love Mario. Nintendo hardcores and non-hardcores alike, they all seem to gravitate towards Mario in a way that they may not gravitate to other video game entities. And just I expect strong things out of Mario and be a major player this holiday season. As far as Assassin's Creed Origins, if it is if it reviews well, that's going to mean that's going to translate into a strong word of mouth, and I think that will also do well if it does like we hope and we think that's going to be a great game now that they took some time off to make Assassin's Creed Origins and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. I'm hoping that they will continue this great narrative, and I think, like you said, it will be a slow burn and people will get into it, and by the end of its life, it will actually have very strong sales itself. So definitely looking forward to all three coming out in the biggest game in the biggest week of the year for video games. And I just tell you what, it's just awesome to see the video game universe, big heavy competition this week, and we're just excited for it, and hopefully you are as well. What are your thoughts on the biggest week of the year in video games? Which game are you going to get? Are you going to get Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus? Are you going to get Assassin's Creed Origins? Or are you going to get Super Mario Odyssey? Maybe all three? Let us know. Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanican Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. And while you're there, share us your thoughts, which one you think is going to do best as well, because we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And I'll tell you what, it's just going to be an awesome awesome week in gaming for all of us gamers out there. That sounded bad. It's going to be an awesome week for all of us gamers out there. So definitely looking forward to that indeed. Coming up next, it's going to be Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt podcast. He's going to recap Week 7 with me as far as for you fantasy football owners out there. And we're going to close the show right after that with me and Josh talking about something he loves to talk about, some more Dark Tower. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today to close out the show. Let me do that another intro again. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos. I'm here along with my good friend from Humanican Media. It's Josh Peterson. Josh, it was just an article that we both noticed a while back, but it seems to rear again. It's just like came back again because a lot of outlets seem to pick up on it this weekend that the Dark Tower, as noted by the author himself, Stephen King, is headed towards a TV makeover. And we knew this that was going to be something that was going to be in the planning stages for a long time now. But because of the lack of success of the movie that came out at the beginning of August, it looks like it's going to be a total and complete reboot as opposed to be an extension of what we saw in theaters. So I ask you, Josh, what are your thoughts on a Dark Tower reboot? And do you think it's the right step in the direction for Sony and, of course, also as well, this incredible, detailed, and full of life property of Stephen King?
Well, it kind of seems like their only option right now, because I mean they took so much of the main plot points from the Dark Tower series and they put them into this hour-and-a-half movie, and it just didn't come out the way that it was supposed to. So, that's all I can say is that going forward, if they really want to captivate the audience and do it right, they would almost need to make it into a TV show and have to start over. And, but that also leaves a concern that if they're going to do this, they need to, put it onto a network where they're free to explore the violence and the darkness of the Dark Tower series instead of, editing and sugarcoating and stuff like that, because that is part of the impact of the books. That is so dark and it's so so shocking and horrifying to read. That's what sets the tone for that world.
I think it should be a great thing for Netflix to get its hands on. That's my personal thing. My personal preference would be for going to Netflix or an HBO, like you said, because it has a lot of stuff that's NSFW. If you're treating it exactly like the way that Stephen King wrote the book, but also as well the properties from it. Could you also, you've talked before about how the Dark Tower is such a pinnacle as far as the Stephen King universe, and that it leads and branches out into so many different directions within the Stephen King realm. I want to ask you, should a reboot and a TV series actually come to fruition, should they touch on all those different entities and properties as well? Not obviously doing shows like an It show or all those other entities, the Thing show or anything like that. I'm talking about just mentioning it or leading into it in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I would hope so, because that's I think that would actually be a great selling point if people knew that these universes were all connected by the Dark Tower. I think it would not only be a great way to bring people into the show and the movies, but it would also be a great way of getting people to pick up more of the books, because it kind of makes sense after that.
Say it again.
I said it. Did you hear anything of what I just said?
Yeah, just the last part. Repeat it because of the.
Oh, I said it makes sense. Like, it makes things make sense, and that makes sense. If that makes sense.
It does. I just wanted to make sure that got in there. But I want to also say that if you do those lead-in properties, it also brings life to those older properties that I know Stephen King got the rights back to. Christine, The Thing, and just so many of those older movies, that Cujo, everything that there's a 70s or 80s film based off of, that he got those property rights back. If he puts that into a Dark Tower reboot, that could bring life back to those films, and if they're hinted at in the show, could eventually lead to a rebooted film of their own, correct?
Right. It can also, hey, it would be a great way to make money too. Like, you want to gauge an interest in Stephen King properties, let them know everything's connected, and then we'll see, we'll see how it all comes together. They want to connect because shared universes are the thing in this time and day. So, letting people know that Stephen King is basically a shared universe would be one way to sell tickets and definitely garner interest in more movies.
Well, I wouldn't say as far as the whole thing. I mean, I would say if you had a Dark Tower TV series that led into other things, as far as, let's say, like Cujo. Let's take Cujo, for instance. Cujo's something I don't think it would do well if we were to go back onto the big screen. But if it was, let's say, a Netflix property, or the Dark Tower series was an HBO property, and you would lead into a Cujo movie on those platforms, I think it would do really well as far as streaming wise. That's what I was trying to say. I don't think all the properties, if they're rebooted, would be doing well at the box office. And I think you and I have both seen that over the past couple months. Not every Stephen King property should be rebooted and should be screened at some point in time, the big screen. But a lot of these properties do very well once they hit TV. And I think Mr. Mercedes on the Audience Network is proving that there is an audience for it, but it's not necessarily on the big screen for not all, but some of those Stephen King properties.
Right. And, Stephen King has some, not everything he writes is connected, but like you have the, the Stand and the, what was the Salem's Lot, and there's another one that's based on vampires, and I can't.
Well, you said it is also connected to
it. Pet Sematary. Even there's some mention of Children of the Corn. Like, it's all the monsters in Stephen King's universe exist because of what's happening to the Dark Tower. And even if there's no mention of that stuff in future movies, it's still cool to know that that's what is going on.
And that'd be great. And I'm hoping that a TV reboot will do just that if given the proper amount of time, the proper amount of content and the proper platform, I think it will do really well and lead into a lot of other things that could be shown on that network as well, and not necessarily put up on the big screen. Because as you and I have noted, Stephen King properties are a hit and miss when it comes to that platform, but in a smaller format, they seem to be doing very well. So definitely something to look forward to indeed. If the Dark Tower, well, excuse me, let's say this, when the Dark Tower comes to a small screen near you, although some people's screens are now 70 inches, so it's kind of, not that small anymore. But you get the trick. Tell us your thoughts on a possible TV reboot of the Dark Tower. Is it something that would gain your interest this time, as opposed to a lot of people that didn't see it on the big screen? Is it something you really want and clamor for if it's done correctly over the course of an entire season? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. And do you also think that it would be a great way to reintroduce a lot of the properties, the smaller, the older, the lesser known properties that Stephen King has, if it gets tied into a Dark Tower TV reboot? Share us your thoughts on that. We'd love to hear from you. So Josh, any last thoughts on the way out on another great episode? We want to thank Tyler Baker for stopping by, and just also just a great time as far as talking about all the great stuff that's going on this week.
Yeah, and don't forget that the PCC and Humanica Media are also a shared universe. So,
that is correct.
If you like going back and listen to some of that stuff, feel free to do so.
Absolutely. That's going to be on the Humanica Media channels on Podbean, YouTube, podcast.com, and Apple Podcasts. Also as well, the Pop Culture Cosmos show and the PCC Multiverse. We're on so many of the outlets. Just type in Pop Culture Cosmos and comes right up on Apple Podcasts, and also many other outlets that are out there. And don't forget our Tuesday night show on the Podcast Radio Network, The Attack of the Humanicans, starring this man right there, Josh Peterson, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. And we'll be talking to you together again. We'll be talking to you on the PCC Multiverse on our Friday shows. Definitely looking forward to that indeed. Another great week of pop culture stuff. And, well, we already started talking about what we're going to be doing on our Friday show. So that's definitely something to look forward indeed. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great